I really wish somebody would make an aluminum ORV chassis.
Excellent!
Well, how do you do, YouTubers? Thanks again for tuning in to Poor Boys RC, where on today's episode, I've got something magical in this box that came in from overseas. A certain aluminum chassis for a certain ORV that I'm a huge fan of. So, yes, indeed, as the thumbnail may have suggested, we've got the ORV chassis from Kingfly RC, along with some goodies here. And guys, I got to tell you, this thing looks so wicked. I am beyond stoked to get into this. So thanks again for tuning in. I love you all. Let's get on it. So before we get unboxing, I wanted to thank Oliver at Kingfly RC one more time for sending this over to the channel and for making these amazing aluminum chassis creations, which are really taking some of these vintage Tamiya kits to the next level. So thanks again, Oliver and family, for doing all that you guys do, because these things are super duper dope. Without further ado, let's see what's in the box. And that's my little cat's ears right there. Ow. She likes to get involved in these videos. So, real simple. And one thing I'm going to start off by saying, guys, is, you know, these aluminum chassis, one of the first things you would think of would be bearing all the additional weight. This thing is extremely light, scary light. Something almost doesn't seem right. It's so light. It's so light it ain't right. Something like that. But it seems extremely light. Let's get it opened up and see what it's all about. Oh man, this is so cool. This thing is absolutely stunning. Just look at the finish. Like, it just looks mean standing still. Look at that design, guys. Oliver, you killed it on this one, dude. I hope it goes together well, because just by the looks of it, I'm in love with it. It's only got the a mount for one servo, which, as you guys know, the ORV has originally would have come with two, one for the steering, the manual speed controller, I should say, one for the steering servo. So here there's no provision for the manual speedo, which is all good in my eyes. You know, we'll quickly talk about it, guys. Obviously, it came pre-assembled, about 95%. There's a little bit of additional hardware here that it comes with, and we can take a deeper dive into that. But it looks like we've just got some, you know, some modified steering rods here, and a couple little nuts, bolts, and some other screws. But again, let's just go over kind of the basics here and what we're looking at. So we've got an aluminum chassis, we've got stainless steel hardware, we have just like a beyond rad design. Like these holes down the side, like it just, I can't wait to see how this thing looks. Really, really cool. Beautifully designed, extremely lightweight, and I am stoked to get this thing put on the chassis. What else came with the kit? Again, we just talked about the steering rods and stuff that come in there, and there's some aluminum spacers here with some hardware in them. Not sure what those are for yet, but we'll dive into that. We have our instruction manual. Let's see what it's got going on in there. Something like that. ORV chassis, aluminum chassis kit. So we've got option parts that are mentioned here. We've got, you know, aluminum shock towers, which would be an option part, a ton of option parts that are available for this kit, which is super cool. But just a really simple exploded view on how to put this thing together. And honestly, it's a really simple chassis, pretty straightforward. Take a part off this, put it on this, and repeat, and you should be done pretty quickly. Famous last words. Anyway, so we got some nice instructions here, and look at this. Look at all these available option parts. Excuse me. I'm trying to make a video. Excuse me. We've got an awesome list of option parts. Don't clean yourself now. We've got a great list of option parts here, and like I'm just over the moon with how much you can hop these things up these days. And again, Oliver, man, I got to tell you, you guys have done a great job with all these parts. They look so nice. The fit and finish is always spot on. And what a way to take an old kit and make it new. So more goodies for you to spend your hard-earned money on. I strongly encourage you to do it. We've got instructions. I'm going to put that right here. I've got some hardware. I'm going to open this stuff up right now, as I like to do. It's kind of my building process. What about your building process? Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you're like when you build a kit or something. Me, I like to open up my screw bags and I sort them all out. It's like this whole, it's like I feel like Dexter, I've got this ritual that I have to do every time I build a kit. And some of you guys out there, like Mechanic After Hours, you ever watch him? My goodness, that guy, he's like surgical precision. Everything's nice and clean, perfect Loctite application. And me, it's just like crap thrown everywhere, Loctite on plastic, just making it break. No, I'm kidding. Okay. These are kind of neat. Looks like one of those power-ups from Mega Man. Anyway, so not a whole lot kicking there for hardware. Again, I'm going to put this aluminum chassis for my friends in the UK on my runner, my Monster Beetle. So I've got a couple ORVs back there. You guys may be looking at them thinking, hey, what about that ORV? I've got a Blackfoot. That's a Riri. Never even run it. I've got a Brat. It's only been run once. Got a Frog up there. Only been run once. But the Monster Beetle's my go-to runner, guys. I've got a waterproofed 2.4 gig receiver. I've got the waterproof Hobbywing 1060 brushed ESC. We've got the Tamiya Superstock. Is that a BZ? Man, this thing, it's a ton of fun. I run on a 2S LiPo. This thing is an absolute blast. I think this motor is absolute perfection for this thing. And again, the reason why I'm going with the Monster Beetle, it's my runner, but it's also, it's built to get beat up a little bit. I've got the MIP ball diff back here, which obviously you don't see, but that reduces the clickety-clackety ORV rear end once you put a bit of juice in it. And as all of you guys know that have the Riri ORV, well, especially with the big tires, the Monster Beetle and the Blackfoot, dog bones like to pop out. So, or the CBDs would pop out. So I've got the frog bones in there as well. So, but that's why I'm going with this chassis or this kit. Let's start the conversion. And it's funny because as I'm just looking at this and figuring how I'm going to do it, I realized that the whole time I was holding the chassis upside down. So it would actually look more like that once it's done, not like that. Really sorry about that, Oliver. All right, so first things first, let's get the tires off of this. Oh my God, this guy. And see what's really going on. So looking at the instruction manual, looking at the kit, I think I'm going to start by putting the gearbox in. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It's just what I feel like doing. No rhyme or reason to it, guys. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm going into this quite blind, to be honest. So let's see what happens. So, how was your week? What'd you get up to? If you guys have any questions or comments, of course, please do throw them down in the comments section below. And I will have a link to this chassis available in the comment section down there as well. So make sure you check that out and make sure you support Oliver and his family for doing these great things and providing these awesome chassis for us to really enjoy. So by the looks of it, the first step to getting these guys, the gearbox in, is I've got these screws right here. There's 4 of them right there, and they come right here in the kit. Ta-da! And just looks like a, is that a 2 mil or 1.5? Little 1.5 it looks like. It is indeed. And this guy is going to screw right into here. Good enough. So we've got our 4 big old grub screws in there. Now, this has to drop right in here, and those grub screws are going to go into those aluminum extension pieces. So I am going to see if I can get those off. And then I'm going to transfer them over to this little guy. Now, some of you guys might be thinking I should be putting Loctite on here. I thought about that. If anything starts loosening up, I will. I find that with stainless hardware, it's so soft. I try and minimize my use of Loctite. Again, it's so soft, and then, you know, you got a bit of Loctite on there, and you're going to take something apart down the line, and before you know it, you're stripping out your super soft stainless screws, and that's a big pain in the butt. So for that reason, we're going to try and shy away from Loctite on this one. Oh man, that looks rad. What do you think, boys? Looks pretty badass, if you ask me. Man, that looks so cool. Cool. I love it. Okay, what else? There's these doodads, and I call them doodads because I don't know what they are. That guy goes in there. Like that. Ta-da! And these are essentially going to act as this extension off the chassis, which you can't see because of my hand. These guys are going to be just like that. And while I've got you all here, I thought I'd just say thanks for everyone who subscribed to the channel, and any new viewers to the channel, please, if you're enjoying the content, please give a thumbs up. Even if you're a subscriber, please give a thumbs up. It means a lot to this tiny little channel, and the goal is to get to 10,000 of you loving subscribers this year. If that happens, if we get to 10,000, we're going to do a big giveaway. If we get to 10K, we're gonna go pretty wild. So, and I'm just gonna leave that right there. But I think we might have a problem here, Houston. Like the shock is, you know, wants to hyperextend and drop that trailing arm way back. So I've got this all figured out, I think. So what's happening is the mounting position of this shock is a little too far back, which then will extend this rear trailing arm all the way down, which allows the dog bone to pop out when the shock completely decompresses. That's obviously no good because this is a monster truck. It's going to be up in the air, and that trailing arm is going to be dropping down. We can't have our dog bones popping out constantly. So I went for an old cheap fix that I actually made a video on like 2 or 3 years ago. And I've just used a couple of cable ties or zip ties and put a little hole right here and zipped them through, and it's just a cheap limiting strap that's going to keep, allows the suspension to move nicely, but it limits the amount of droop in the rear so that we don't have our dog bone popping out. So it's a bit of a bummer that that's happening. This is, it's not a cheap chassis. Could it have been avoided? Possibly. I'm going to say, I bet when designing this, they probably use the exact same specs as the factory chassis. Because this is a problem on the factory chassis as well. So don't think it's only on the Kingfly aluminum. This is a major problem on the Riris. So, here we are with that same issue again. It would have been really nice if this shock mounting position was mounted forward about 1/2 inch. That should eliminate this issue. I might play with that in the future, but for the purpose of this video, let's just get this thing put together in stock format and see what happens. And as you can see here, guys, I'm removing this screw that holds in this support bar, which you can't see. That support bar right there. So I can get a little bit of flex, and I can get this to open up, pop you in there, and then I'm going to put this screw back in. Here's a problem that I'm referring to. You've got your normal range of motion, but with nothing stopping this trailing axle, look how far down it can go. And it can really stretch down quite a bit. And I don't care if you've got frog bones or CVDs back there, you're going to be having an issue there. That's going to be falling out. So the dog bone is in. That's our regular range of motion, but as you can see, it wants to go all the way out and do that. With that said, let's revisit my super cheap fix for ORV monster truck dog bone popper outers. You're going to want to take 2 of these, just cheap little zip ties, and I make one go into the other one. Oh, put it in the wrong way. There we go. That's it, guys. There is nothing fancy to this thing. I've already got this hole drilled here because, as you can see, it was an issue in the past. See, focus. Focus. Anyway, there's a hole right there. And I know you can't really see what I'm doing, but I need to see what I'm doing. So too bad for you guys. My Dewey in the hole if I can. Pretty straightforward. And I left it a little bit loose, and I haven't tidied up the edges yet because I just want to get this dog bone in here one last time. Make sure it all fits nice, and then be done with it. So I had to do a bit of that off camera because this is a family show, and I was using some really colorful language. I didn't feel like editing out. But as you can see there, guys, I've kind of adjusted my max droopage in the back end with these zip ties. And again, I am going to find a better solution for this in the future. And if you guys know a different solution, please let me know. I'm not going to fault the chassis designers for this. I think what they just did was use the factory sort of specs. And it's part of the issue with the original, not the original, but with the Riri ORV big tire trucks. Boys, we are making progress. That is the back half of our chassis complete. Okay, what's next? So now, yeah, the front. What about it? What are we going to do next? Let's get it all figured out. Let's figure it out together. Making a YouTube video, figuring stuff out. How's that for a front end? Okay, we're almost there, guys. We are making some progress. I'm happy. Front suspension is done. Looking radical. Guys, look at that chassis. That looks badass, boys. I am excited about this. Oh yeah. Okay. We're almost there. Home stretch, guys. Let's put the bumper on. We must bump. Big fan of bumping. Big fan. Big bumper guy. Home stretch. Now we just need to install the steering servo, which according to this is mounted. You know what I did? That sucks. I went through this plasti dip phase. I think we all did at some point in our RC lives. And I plasti dipped the living heck out of this receiver. Man, it's great when it works, when it, you know, man. But there's a time and a place for all this plasti dip, Phil. And, you know, I just went through this phase. I was plasti dipping the hell out of everything. And, you know, now sometimes I wish I didn't plasti dip the heck out of everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Anyway, I've got the big old servo saver on there, which I want to reuse if possible. And as you can see here, the factory, if I were to have my steering straight, the factory supplied tie rods are not the, oh geez, you guys can't see anything I'm doing. Come on, Phil, figure it out. So if, let's see, if I got my steering straight, yeah, these tie rods will be pretty much right on top of one another. So the kit comes with different length tie rods, which is good. And from what I gather, I'm just going to remove these old ones and I'm just going to replace them with the new ones. This one's actually bent. Ah, would you look at that, Phil? My standard camera just died, so we're off to the GoPro now, so things are going to look a little bit different, but I'm almost done. Let's check it out, guys. So that's how I mounted my steering servo, and as you can see, there's not, I mean, there's only one mounting option, but I've got this really big servo saver. I had to get a little bit creative, as you can see in there, because we've got some pretty close tolerances, but everything works perfectly. I did some testing off camera, and everything works great. All I had to do was take the ball studs and switch them from the top of the servo saver to the bottom, and everything lines up great. So that part is really, really awesome. From here, all that's left to do is to mount the tires, fit the electronics, take it for a spin. So if you're like me and you're a fan of the ORV chassis, I'd highly recommend picking up the Kingfly aluminum ORV chassis off eBay. Again, I will have a link in the description box below where you can find your very own. And you can also find a multitude of other Tamiya aluminum chassis being made by Kingfly RC. Personally, I think this has been a great upgrade. Not only does it look menacing, it's gonna add a bit of rigidity, which I don't know if that really matters. I mean, in a Basher like this, to me, it really doesn't matter, but it does give a refreshed, modernized look to an old school RC car. It goes together quick, it goes together easy. It's got provisions for both the monster truck style ORVs and the buggy style, including the Frog and the Brat. Not that the Brat's really a buggy, but you know where I'm going with that. It's got a super cool single steering servo design. It will work with a conventional 2S LiPo. You could even fit a soft case 3S LiPo in here if you really wanted to, or to stick to your 6-cell or even your 7-cell hump pack nickel metal hydride, because you got a lot of space in there to work with. But overall, I'm in love with this thing. I think it looks great. I can't wait to get this thing outside and really take it through its paces and see how it performs. I don't know if there'll be any performance enhancements at all, but you never know, there might be. What do you think? Do you think there'll be any performance enhancements? If you think so, throw them down in the comments below. I'd love to read it. Well, that's it for today's episode of Poor Boys RC, guys. Please do throw me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really means a lot to a small channel just like this one. Again, we are looking to get to 10,000 subs this year. So if we can do that, we'll do a big giveaway at the end of the year. It'll be awesome. But for now, guys, as always, be excellent to each other.